The fluorescent lights hummed like angry wasps as Connor Fitzgerald called me a dinosaur clinging to Rolodexes in front of 47 colleagues. My wedding ring clicked against the conference table. 15 years of 4 a.m. wake-ups, missed dinners, and saved shipments, reduced to a PowerPoint slide titled Inefficiencies. Security waited by the door, ready to escort me out like a criminal. I caught my reflection in the conference room glass. 52 years old, terminated, humiliated. They say revenge is best served cold. But sometimes it's better served at room temperature. Steady, patient, and inevitable. My name is Everett Blackstone, and for most of my adult life, I believed loyalty was a two-way street. 52 years old, married to my high school sweetheart, father to one brilliant daughter. I was living proof that hard work and dedication paid off. I'd started as a truck driver, worked my way up through dispatch, operations, and finally to senior logistics manager at Meridian. Some called me old-fashioned. I preferred reliable. I'd walked through Meridian Logistics doors every morning at 5:47 a.m. for 15 years. Same parking spot, same security guard. Eddie, whose granddaughter I'd helped get an internship. My office smelled like warehouse dust mixed with diesel fumes and the burnt coffee from my worn, world's best dad mug that Sophie had made in 3rd grade. Those early mornings were my sanctuary. I'd check shipment routes while Denver slowly woke up, knowing which roads flooded every March, which warehouse managers had kids' soccer games on Thursdays, which drivers needed routes adjusted for Friday mosque prayers. This wasn't data in a spreadsheet. This was relationship capital built over thousands of conversations and favors. But I'll be honest, my system wasn't perfect. Last year, I'd misread my own handwriting and sent a refrigerated truck on a route that added 2 hours. The produce spoiled, cost us $12,000 and nearly lost us the client. Connor had that incident highlighted in 3 different colors in his files. My morning ritual never changed. Feed the goldfish in the bowl on my desk, check overnight emails, call Jim Torres to make sure his Phoenix run went smooth. That goldfish, I'd named him Sisyphus, swam the same circles every day. Sometimes I wondered who was really trapped in a bowl. Maria understood my dedication. We'd met when I was still driving trucks, and she'd stuck with me through the lean years. Though lately, she'd been less understanding. "Another Saturday at the office?" she'd asked last month, her voice tight. "Just a few hours," I'd promised. It turned into 8. Sophie was 17 now, talking about college, and Maria ran her catering business from our kitchen. We'd built something solid, something real. Or so I thought. Then Connor Fitzgerald arrived 6 weeks ago like a hurricane in a sharp suit. Fresh from Stanford's MBA program, Connor spoke in buzzwords: disruption, optimization, digital transformation. But here's what the story usually leaves out. He was also brilliant. His analysis of our fuel costs found inefficiencies that would save us hundreds of thousands annually. The new routing algorithm he implemented actually did reduce delivery times by 15%. "Everett," he'd said in our first meeting, leaning forward with genuine enthusiasm, "your knowledge is invaluable. I want to digitize it, preserve it, make it scalable. Imagine if every driver could access your 15 years of experience through an app." It sounded good. It even made sense. But something felt off when he started scheduling meetings during my supplier calls, installing keystroke monitoring software, conducting efficiency reviews that felt more like interrogations. "My uncle ran a logistics company," Connor mentioned once, staring at a photo of Meridian's founder on the wall. "Spent 30 years building relationships. Lost everything when Amazon moved in because he couldn't adapt fast enough. I won't let that happen here." There was something in his eyes when he said it. Not ambition, but fear. Desperation, maybe. That last morning, something felt different. I'd arrived at 5:47 a.m. as always, but Sisyphus's bowl was gone from my desk, just an empty circle in the dust where he'd swum for 3 years. I should have known then. Predators always remove the witnesses first. The conference room was packed. All hands meeting, Connor had said. Mandatory attendance. I noticed Amy, my assistant, crying quietly in the corner. HR sat at the table with folders I recognized. Termination paperwork. I'd seen enough to know. Connor stood at the front, laser pointer in hand, but his usual smile seemed forced. His hands trembled slightly as he clicked to the first slide. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice catching for just a moment. "Today, we're addressing organizational redundancies to ensure Meridian's survival in a rapidly evolving market." My photo appeared, an old one from the company picnic, slightly grainy. "Everett Blackstone has served Meridian faithfully for 15 years, Connor continued. "However, our analysis shows significant operational inefficiencies in manual processes." He clicked through slides. The spoiled produce incident, 3 late deliveries from last quarter, supplier contracts with rates 8% above market average. Some of it was fair, some of it was stripped of context. While we appreciate Everett's historical contributions, Connor's voice grew stronger, more convinced. Meridian needs systems-based solutions, not individual dependencies. We cannot afford to have critical knowledge stored in notebooks that could walk out the door. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was making sure that knowledge walked out the door right now. Effective immediately, Everett's position is eliminated. We'll be transitioning to a fully integrated vendor management system. The walk of shame stretched forever. Security flanking me, cardboard box in my arms, 47 pairs of eyes avoiding contact. Only Amy met my gaze, whispering, "This isn't right," as I passed. But I also caught something else. Connor's expression as I left. It wasn't triumph. It was relief mixed with something that looked almost like regret. In the parking lot, I sat in my pickup truck, staring at 15 years reduced to a box of personal items. Called Maria. Her sharp intake of breath then, "Come home. We'll figure this out." Driving past the construction on Interstate 25, I noted the lane closures. Connor would need to reroute Tuesday's shipments. The detour would add 40 minutes unless he knew about the Sherman Street alternative. He didn't, of course. That knowledge lived in my worthless notebook, not his fancy system. That first week hit hard. Maria made chorizo eggs every morning, my favorite, trying to maintain normalcy. But tension simmered beneath the surface. 15 years, Everett, she said on day 3, chopping onions with unnecessary force. 15 years of you choosing that company over this family. And this is how they repay you. Sophie offered her college fund over dinner, eyes fierce with teenage indignation. "We don't need their money, Dad. We've got each other." "We're not touching your college fund," I said firmly. "Then what's the plan?" Maria asked. "Because the mortgage is due in 2 weeks. My lawyer friend Marcus reviewed my non-compete over bourbon in his study. You can't directly solicit Meridian's clients, he said, adjusting his glasses. But nothing stops suppliers from choosing to work with you independently, and if Meridian can't fulfill their obligations. He shrugged. That night, I sat in my home office, legal pad in front of me. 15 years of relationships, categorized. 7 handshake deals, built on trust alone. 28 contract-bound, but with exit clauses. 12 fence-sitters who worked with whoever treated them best. But I had to be honest with myself. At least 5 of those relationships had grown stale. 2 suppliers had complained about my resistance to electronic invoicing. 1 had specifically asked for the kind of vendor portal Connor was building. Sophie brought me tea, studying my list. Physics homework? I asked. Already done. Newton's first law: objects in motion stay in motion unless acted upon by external force. I stared at the list. Connor was the external force. But momentum was mine to reclaim. The next morning, I called Jim Torres. His gruff voice softened when he heard about the firing. "That corporate punk," he growled. "You know I only worked with Meridian because of you, right?" "I'm not asking for anything, Jim." "Stop right there, Everett. When you land somewhere, you call me first. Meridian can kiss my..." That afternoon, I registered Blackstone Logistics Solutions at the courthouse. Maria held my hand as I signed the papers, though her grip was tighter than usual. "How many nights?" she asked quietly. "What? How many nights will you be working late this time? Just so I can plan dinners." The accusation stung because it was fair. 2 months. That's all it took to build something Connor couldn't understand, and to uncover what he was really doing at Meridian. Week 1 started with Jim at our usual diner. Burnt coffee, cracked vinyl seats, and Margie still calling us hun after a decade. Jim slid into the booth, already irritated. "That new system is costing me $3,000 a month in integration fees," he said. "Plus, routes make no sense. Yesterday they sent my driver through school zones during dismissal." I pulled out my notebook. Yes, the same kind Connor mocked. "Sherman Street construction ends Thursday. If you route through the industrial district between 2 and 4 p.m., you avoid both school traffic and the I-25 backup." Jim stared. "Their fancy system doesn't know that. Their system doesn't factor in the construction foreman's daughter who posts updates on Twitter." By week 3, word had spread. But not everyone was receptive. Ray Chen listened politely, then shook his head. "Connor's system saved me 6 hours a week on paperwork. Sorry, Everett, but I'm staying put." Sandra Williams was blunter. "You know what? That young man called me personally, apologized for the transition troubles, and offered a 5% rate reduction. When's the last time you negotiated my rates, Everett?" It was a wake-up call. I'd grown comfortable, assumed loyalty was automatic. Connor might be wrong about many things, but he wasn't wrong that I'd been coasting. At home, tensions escalated. Maria's food blog took off. Feeding a family through crisis resonated with readers, but success highlighted the growing gulf between us. "Ironic," she said one night, laptop open on the kitchen table. "I'm writing about feeding a family I barely see." Sophie tried to mediate, designing Blackstone Logistics t-shirts in our garage-turned-office. "Mom's just stressed," she said. "You both are." "Dad," she added one evening, helping me organize client files. Amy called. She wants to talk, but she's scared. She said something about numbers not adding up. Amy, still at Meridian. Now Connor's assistant. We met at a coffee shop downtown, Amy's hands shaking as she pushed an envelope across the table. "I was reconciling invoices," she whispered. "There are shipments we're billing for that never happened. Fuel surcharges for routes that don't exist. Connor said it was a system calibration issue. But she'd done her homework. Ghost shipments, inflated fees, phantom warehouse charges, all small enough to fly under the radar individually, but adding up to serious money. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because Connor's not who I thought he was," Amy said. "At first, I believed in his vision. He talked about his uncle's company, how he wanted to honor that legacy by building something fraud-proof. But last week I found out there was no uncle. No failed logistics company. He made it all up. I spent nights cross-referencing Amy's documents with publicly available data. Sophie helped with spreadsheets while Maria brought coffee at 2 a.m., though she also brought hard truths. "You're obsessed," she said. "Just like you were with Meridian. Different company, same neglect." She wasn't wrong. But I couldn't let Connor destroy the company that 47 good people depended on. The pattern emerged slowly. Connor's previous company had undergone similar modernization before bankruptcy. A forensic accounting report buried in court documents showed the same scheme. Phantom charges, money siphoned to offshore accounts. But here's what complicated everything. Connor was also genuinely trying to modernize Meridian. The new routing system, despite its flaws, did work. Several suppliers preferred it. He'd hired 3 new analysts who were brilliant at their jobs. It was like he was building and destroying simultaneously. "I found something," Sophie said one night, showing me her laptop. "Connor's in debt. Massive debt. Crypto investments that tanked. Margin calls. Sports betting sites." The image crystallized. A brilliant, desperate man using his real skills to provide cover for his crimes. Not a cartoon villain, a human being making terrible choices. The encrypted files from Amy arrived on a Tuesday. My hands trembled as I opened them. Screenshots, invoices, bank records. Connor had been siphoning money through shell companies, all registered in Delaware, all leading back to accounts under various aliases. $2.3 million over 6 weeks. But there was more. Amy had recorded Connor on a call with someone. "I need more time," Connor's voice strained. "The integration is working, but the old guard is fighting me. Once I force out the skeptics, I can accelerate the timeline. Yes, I understand the consequences." "No, please, my family doesn't know." Marcus reviewed everything in his study, bourbon untouched this time. "This is criminal fraud," he said quietly. "But Everett, there's something else here. Sounds like Connor's being pressured by someone. This might be bigger than just embezzlement." I thought of my former colleagues, their 401ks invested in Meridian stock, of Eddie the security guard, 2 years from retirement, but also of Connor, trapped in something he couldn't escape. "We need to be strategic," Marcus continued. "Expose the fraud, save the company, but maybe give Connor a chance to cooperate with authorities. Sounds like he might be a victim too." The moral lines were blurring. Yes, Connor had humiliated me, cost me my job, but he was also a young man drowning in consequences of bad decisions. Meanwhile, Connor grew more erratic. 5 suppliers had switched to Blackstone Logistics. Meridian's biggest client threatened to leave. He scheduled emergency meetings, but his message had shifted. Amy sent another recording. "I know some of you are working with Everett Blackstone," Connor said, voice cracking. "I don't blame you. I've made mistakes. But please give me 2 more weeks. I can fix this. I have to fix this." Sophie listened to the recording with me. "He sounds scared, Dad." "Bad choices have consequences," I said, but the words felt hollow. "Is that what you'll tell yourself when his kids suffer for his mistakes?" she asked. "You always taught me that integrity means doing the right thing, even when it's complicated." That night I made a decision. We'd expose the fraud, but we'd also give Connor a chance to come clean first. I met Connor at a bar downtown. He looked haggard, stress etched in lines that hadn't been there 6 weeks ago. His expensive suit was rumpled. His hands shook slightly as he raised his beer. "Come to gloat?" he asked, but there was no fight in his voice. "Come to offer you a chance," I said, sliding into the opposite booth. His laugh was bitter. "A chance? I destroyed your career, and you're offering me a chance." "I know about the fraud, Connor. The ghost shipments, the offshore accounts, all of it." He went pale, beer glass freezing halfway to his lips. "I don't know what I also know you're in trouble. Gambling debts, bad investments, someone squeezing you." Connor's facade crumbled. He set down his beer, shoulders sagging. "My brother," he whispered. "He's sick. Experimental treatment, insurance won't cover it. I thought I could make quick money in crypto, but I lost everything. Then I lost more trying to win it back. So you decided to steal it? Borrow it, he corrected, then laughed bitterly. God, I sound pathetic. I convinced myself I'd pay it back once the efficiency savings kicked in. The modernization is real, Everett. It would work. In 2 years, Meridian would be industry leading. In 2 years, Meridian will be bankrupt from your theft. I know. Tears ran down his face. I know. I can't sleep, can't eat. Every morning I think about confessing, but then I think about my brother dying because I couldn't pay for his treatment. We sat in silence. Finally, I spoke. You have 48 hours to come clean to the board. Full confession, full cooperation with authorities. You'll face jail time, but with cooperation, maybe minimal. Your brother's treatment. There are other ways. Legal ways. Fundraising, medical charities. Why? Connor asked. Why would you help me? Because destroying you won't give me my job back. Because 47 people need Meridian to survive. And because... I paused, thinking of Sophie's words. Because integrity means doing the right thing, even when it's complicated. Connor broke down completely. Through sobs, he told me everything. The loan sharks who'd threatened his family. The offshore contacts who'd taught him how to hide money. The weight of living a lie while trying to save his brother. I was brilliant once, he said. Top of my class at Stanford. I really did want to revolutionize logistics. How did I become this? One compromise at a time, I said. But it's not too late to choose differently. Connor didn't confess. 48 hours passed, then 72. Amy reported that he'd been shredding documents, making calls to offshore banks. The loan sharks must have gotten to him. Or maybe the fear of prison was stronger than his guilt. You tried, Maria said, holding me as I stared at my phone, willing it to ring. You gave him a chance. Thursday night, Marcus and I prepared the evidence package. Every document legally obtained, Amy's identity protected, chain of custody preserved. But it felt different now, knowing Connor's story. You did the right thing, Marcus assured me. He made his choice. Friday morning, I sent comprehensive evidence packages to 3 board members I'd known for years. But I also included Connor's personal situation, his brother's illness, the gambling debts, the threats. Maybe the board would show mercy. Maybe they'd just want justice. I didn't see Connor's arrest, but Amy was there. She called me crying. He tried to run, she said. Security stopped him in the parking lot. He was carrying 2 suitcases full of cash. But Everett, he looked relieved, like he was glad it was over. The aftermath was swift. Forensic accountants found the full extent, $2.3 million embezzled, another $1.8 million in fraudulent contracts queued up. Connor faced federal charges, multiple counts of wire fraud and embezzlement. But something unexpected happened. During his arrest, Connor broke down and confessed everything, including names of the offshore facilitators and loan sharks. His cooperation led to a multi-state investigation that broke up a ring targeting desperate executives. Sophie followed the news carefully. His brother, she said one evening. What happens to him? I'd already made some calls. A medical charity I'd worked with through Meridian had agreed to review his case. 2 of my supplier contacts contributed to a GoFundMe. It wasn't enough for the full treatment, but it was a start. Why help him? Sophie asked. After everything? Because revenge and justice aren't the same thing, I said. Connor will pay for his crimes, but his brother doesn't deserve to pay for them too. 6 months later, morning sunlight streams through my office windows. Real office now. Not the garage. Employee photos line the wall, but they tell a different story than expected. There's Jim Torres at our first client dinner, sure, but also Ray Chen, who came back after Connor's system crashed during the transition. Sandra Williams, who apologized for doubting me but also pushed me to modernize. And Amy, who joined Blackstone as operations manager after testifying in Connor's trial. You were both right, Ray told me last week. We needed better systems, but we also needed the human touch. Why not have both? That's what Blackstone Logistics became. A hybrid of old-school relationships and new-school efficiency. Amy implemented digital invoicing while I maintained personal supplier relationships. Sophie, working part-time before college, bridged both worlds naturally. The goldfish are back, but it's a proper aquarium now with 7 fish. Schools swim stronger than solitary fish, I tell visitors. Connor taught me that too. No one should navigate alone. Connor got 5 years, reduced to 3 with good behavior and continued cooperation. His brother's treatment was funded through a combination of charity and crowdfunding. I contributed anonymously. Meridian survived under new leadership. They offered me my job back. Actually, they offered me Connor's job. I declined. I've moved beyond that particular bowl, I told them. But the real victory wasn't professional. It was personal. Maria and I started counseling. Turns out building a business on revenge, even justified revenge, takes a toll on a marriage. You saved a company, our counselor noted. But you almost lost a family. She was right. Maria's cookbook launched successfully. Feeding a Family Through Crisis, a love story. She dedicated it to my husband, who learned that coming home is just as important as going to work. Sophie's headed to Colorado State now, engineering with a business minor. Her admissions essay was about watching her father fail and rebuild, but more importantly, about watching him choose family over vengeance. The hardest part wasn't building a new company, she wrote. It was watching him learn to leave it at the office. Last week I got a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Everett, I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know. My brother's responding to treatment. He'll likely make a full recovery. I'm in a minimum security facility, teaching computer skills to other inmates. Strange how teaching others what I corrupted helps me remember who I wanted to be. You asked me once how I became what I was. One compromise at a time, you said. You were right. But you also showed me that we can choose differently, even when it seems too late. I'm sorry for what I did to you, but I'm grateful for what you did for me, even after. Connor, P.S. The goldfish metaphor? I get it now. The bowl isn't the job. It's the lies we tell ourselves about what matters. I kept the letter. Not as vindication, but as a reminder. We're all swimming in circles sometimes, trapped by our own choices. The lucky ones have someone who shows them the ocean exists. We're fishing at Horsetooth Reservoir, Sophie and I, one last trip before she leaves for college. The morning sun paints the mountains gold, and she's grown expert at reading the water. No bites yet, she observes, but she's patient now. Sometimes the best catches come when you're not trying so hard. I think about Connor, about Meridian, about the winding path that led us here. My phone buzzes, probably Jim with a routing question, or Amy with a client update. I let it buzz. Dad, Sophie says suddenly, I'm proud of you. For building the business? For almost losing it all and choosing what mattered. She adjusts her line, eyes on the water. Connor was wrong about a lot, but he was right that you'd grown too comfortable. Just not in the way he thought. She's right. I'd been comfortable neglecting my family, comfortable avoiding hard conversations, comfortable swimming in circles of my own making. You know what the real revenge was? She continues. It wasn't taking his clients or exposing his crimes. It was becoming the person and father you were meant to be. Connor's in prison, but you're free. My line tugs. Together, we reel in a beautiful rainbow trout, scales glittering in the morning light. This time, I don't hesitate. Let's put it back, I say, gently removing the hook. It's got better places to be than our dinner table. Sophie smiles as we watch it disappear into the depths. Getting soft in your old age? Getting wise, I correct. Learning that the best revenge isn't served at all. It's released back into the water, making room for something better. We pack up our gear, heading home to Maria, to family, to a life built on truth rather than vengeance. Behind us, the reservoir stretches endless and deep, full of fish that swim in schools rather than circles. Some lessons come from failure, others from success. But the best ones? They come from choosing to see even our enemies as human, and choosing to become more human ourselves in response. The goldfish was never trapped in the bowl. He just needed someone to show him the ocean. Even if that someone was a desperate young man making all the wrong choices for reasons I finally understood. Connor Fitzgerald fired me after 15 years. In doing so, he gave me everything.